So today we're going to skew a little negative, and I don't like to skew negative despite what some of you guys might think. But I think it is a good way of trying to teach you guys, how to improve basically and how not to make, bad decisions, because we're going to take a look at the God versus T1, two good teams with two very good players. But they just had, let's say, a bad map. And look, it's better to have a bad map in the Ludwig Tarek Invitational than it is in your important games. But we're going to try and learn from, the mistakes that were made in this game. And in fact, there was a lot of mistakes made in this game. And so we're just going to take a look at 4 rounds out of the first 10. We're not even going to take a look at the whole game because we don't need to. And honestly, in those first 10 rounds, there's more than just 4 rounds that had pretty major mistakes, in my opinion. But let's take a look at this first round and start off with the very first pistol round. So the guard are on the defensive side and T1 are on the attacking side. And the first thing we're going to talk about, and I've seen this in particular with teams that are running Killjoy, this seems to be a thing, but the way the guard are going to start the map is reminiscent of when Fracture first came out. And you may remember, some of you might not have even been around. When Fracture first came out, it was incredibly attack-sided. I mean, dominant, like 80% win rate for the attack side, because people didn't know how to defend on this map. And I think the guard kind of fall into some of the early pitfalls that people did there, right? So Trent's gonna start off towards Dish, he's gonna throw a Fade Horn, it's gonna get destroyed. A KO knife comes into A main, and now he's going to run back, okay? So Trent's gonna come back to A main, and let's pause right here, okay? We're about 10 seconds into the round. But instantly, I think the guard have a bit of a problem, right? And that is that they have no space, right? They're not contesting really anything. They're not going anywhere, right? Trent's thrown one Fade Haunt up here and then ran away, right? So he doesn't know that people aren't coming all the way back here. And we'll keep that in mind for the rest of this round as well. That, this Fade Haunt has been destroyed and then he's just ran back, right? So, they think that someone might be up at the top of the map. Actually, this Killjoy has come and taken the rope and come across instead. We don't really know what's going on down towards B main. Yes, we do have this turret watching towards arcade, but we're not too sure of anything going on there. We don't have anyone in A main, so we don't know what's going on here. And as I said, Trent's just left this, so as time goes on, we won't know what's going on towards there either. This is not the best way of playing Fracture, right? Sitting tucked in on site, this is how that early part of Fracture, this is how it went to 80% win rate and stuff like that on attack side, because you just get pinched in on the site. And there's 6 different ways attackers can go on this map, and so if you just sit in on the site, you can get faked out, you can get pinched in on the site. It's not a good position to be in. So straight away, I kind of don't like exactly what the guard are doing here, right? Very passive. And Trent seems to be the only one who's, will, and then he just goes off on his own, right? Again, this would be better if we've got, someone else there. But at this point, we're just minor nitpicking, okay? We're not big nitpicking at this point. This is like minor little things. But Trent's about to come and peek out this angle, as you can see. And again, this is another thing that's going to happen consistently with the guard, is they aren't playing a flash. But the way that they play the map, it's almost like they think they do have one, right? Because again, something like this, if we're going to peek out here, we'd love to have an extra person here, maybe a Breach, who's going to flash this for us, right? This is like what, a common thing to see would be in a pro game, but they don't have a flash. And so Trent just has to like dry swing it. Okay, he springs into 1 people. There's actually 3 there. He manages, to get out, escape just about, right? He's pretty lucky here that he's just gone dry swinging into 3 people. And actually, as he's running back, he manages to hit a random headshot, right? So, and escape. So, okay, gets a bit lucky, let's say, but they get the first kill, right? Really, really good for the guard at this point, right? They got the first kill. Okay, smoke comes in here from the defender side, and 2 across the site from T1. All pretty normal stuff. 4v5 now for the guard, and everything's just going to calm down for a second. The door opens, and some of T1 come through the door, right? All normal stuff. We rotate over the Viper. We've still got Net over here towards this B site. This is absolutely fine. His turret and himself are, holding down this B site for now if T1 do decide to rotate, so that's absolutely fine. And what's going to happen here is we're going to see Munchkin sees Trent, and they just see them, so they get that info. Again, Trent doesn't die. This is absolutely fine. We're still feeling pretty good about where we are in the round for the guard, right? It's a 5v4. We're feeling pretty good. But then these smokes just drop, right? So the smokes now have all gone from both sides. And this is actually even better for the guard, right? Because now these guys can see each other, right? So if these T1 players did decide to come this way, now our Brim can help us with the defense as well. It's not just this raise and fade. And so, yeah, we're in a really good spot for the guard at this point in time, right? This is all really, really good. We're in a 5v4. Valorant's holding this down, which is good, right? We can see each other now. We can, make some crossfires and whatnot on the site if we need to as well, right? We're just in a really good spot. And what's going to happen is Trent's going to send out a Prowler here, and it's going to hit Sire player just here. It's going to hit him in that little box, right? And then this is where the major mistakes start to come in. Because for whatever reason, despite being in a good spot, right? We were in a good spot before, you know, where we were before, you know, just holding down the site. We've got crossfires, you know, we can communicate with each other. These two decide to go just chasing a kill, right? And as I said before, they don't know that someone isn't here, right? They smoked it off before. These two just ignore that fact, right? That there could easily be anyone lurking up towards the top of dish, and you know, they would just get free kill. This would be absolutely free kills because they are just going charging out for this kill, right? And no one else can see that there isn't someone right there, right? And so this is just a major mistake that goes unpunished because we obviously know that there isn't anyone there, and I don't really see a way. I mean, the Fade Haunt got destroyed at the start of the round. They haven't seen all 4 people yet, right? They know that there's a couple down here, but there easily could be one up here as well. So that's a major mistake. But even in this scenario, right, we're going as 2 players here, swinging into this to what could be 4 players, right? This could be 4 players down here. You know, in this instance, it is 2, but there's no reason it can't be 4. And if this is a 4v2, you know, we're not likely to win that fight. And as it goes anyway, yeah, it ends up being a 2v2, but they actually end up losing the fight anyway. And so we've gone from a 5v4, Saya's going to hit 2 really nice shots with the Frenzy, and all of a sudden we're in a 3v3, right? Because we're just chasing kills, right? Like a mouse to cheese, we're just, you know, we've gone in, and oh no, it was a trap. Oh no, now we're in a 3v3, right? I don't know why they did that, and honestly, it could have been worse if there was someone at the top of dish. Just a big mistake. But it gets worse, honestly, because as we run this forward, we're still in a perfectly fine position for the guard, right? It's still a 3v3. You know, they don't have any more smokes left, and so anyone who comes onto this A site is going to have to cross these guys' vision, right? Either they're going to have to come here, or they're going to have to come across here, right? So anyone to get to this A site, they're still going to have to cross these guys' line of sight. And we've still got Net holding down B. No problem if they rotate either. We'll get that info and we'll be able to, you know, maybe Net will be able to, you know, hold down the site for us. So we're still not in a terrible position either, right? But what's about to happen is we're about to get a bullet fired here, you know, from one of the T1 players. It's just going to fire a bullet. And again, Jonah, like a mouse to cheese, is just going to chase it. And I don't know why, right? They know that the Neon is over here, right? Saya's just got those 2 kills. So they know that 1 player is there. But those 2 players have only seen 1 player. T1 have 2 other players alive, right? So Jonah here is swinging. And he must be feeling like there's probably 2 people going to be there. Again, there could be anyone up here at any time. And Jonah, again, is just going to go swinging here. And he could easily just give away his life for free. Let's ignore that fact to even, you know, considering that. But he's still just going to go swinging in. And again, they have to cross his line of sight to get to this A site. But instead, he just goes swinging in, you know, to 2 people, doesn't know where to place his crosshair, dies, right? And now we're in a 2v3. Okay, so we've gone from a 5v4 and feeling really good about where we were to a 2v3 because we're just chasing kills, right? We're just chasing kills. And so Val's left in a really bad spot, right, where he's having to aim at multiple people. He dies, and now Net's left in a 1v3, you know, and they've just left Net in a terrible spot overall to try and win this round. And it was just because we got completely greedy, and honestly, it could have gone worse. And if there was someone in dish, and I don't think that they knew that there wasn't anyone there, you know, this would have been an even more horrific round, right? I mean, you could even say Saya there is doing the same thing where he's just trying to chase a kill on low HP, you know, and gives Net a free one. Eventually, you know, T1 will manage to win this round with a nice little flash and actually a kill from towards the drop. But yeah, just a really, really poor start to the game. And as we'll see in rounds going forward, this will continue. And so let's come to round number 4. And this one, well, yeah, let's just take a look at what happens. So it starts off fairly normally, right? There's nothing too crazy going on. Again, we get this KO knife in here. And again, the guard this time, you know, unlike the last time, they do decide, let's, you know, contest some part of the map, right? And they come into A main, they put a smoke here, right? They contest this area of the map. Absolutely fine. Nothing so wrong so far, right? We've got 2 people over here with the killjoy setup and whatnot. Brimsmoke comes in here to stop them. Absolutely fine. But now they're going to continue pushing, right? We've seen some pressure towards B main. So these 2 are going to continue pushing out. And again, we'd love a flash if we were the guard here, right? We'd love any kind of flash, little breach flash out here as we come out. We love it, right? But Zeta, perhaps knowing they don't have a flash, you know, feels more confident in just holding an off angle like this. And he punishes them for it and actually manages to get 2 kills. Wonderful, right? Great for T1. We're in a 5v3. We're feeling good. We just got 2 kills in A main, right? So it waits for the rest of his team. Absolutely fine. and we're flying, right? We're absolutely flying. In we go. We got 4 players here, right? Little flash around that corner, and we're gonna come into this site just here. But a smoke comes down, right? And now we're gonna put up this neon wall. We're gonna send in this KO knife, and we can see the rays is here. Okay, so this KO knife is gonna suppress the rays, and you know, you are not gonna believe what happens next. And just before we see what happens next, I just want to point out. Let's take a look at the utility that T1 still had available to them, right? So just the 4 players who are here. Yeah, the Killjoy's on the other side of the map. We won't count that. But the 4 players who are here, we've got a KO nade, we've got 2 KO flashes, we've got a Breach Aftershock, a Breach Flash, and a Breach Stun. We've got 1 Smoke and 1 Molly, and we've got a Neon Stun and a Slide still available as well, right? So we have a ton of utility to use to potentially get past this 1 player, right? And they maybe didn't know this at the time, but actually Tex only has a stinger as well, right? You can see it in his hands here. He's only got a stinger. But guess what? Despite being in a 5v3 and only seeing 1 player on this site and having a ton of utility to use, they decide instead to run away. They use the stun, and then they just run away. And I have no idea why. And so Net does the right thing, right? He's in a 3v5. So Net does absolutely the right thing. In a 3v5, you want to be taking these risks. And so Net comes down here. And, well, he's going to find some easy kills right here as T1 are just completely caught off guard. And, well, this is going to ultimately cost them the round, to be honest. As they do manage to get the trade. But now we're in a 2v3, right? And Tex actually follows them back behind. And, you know, now they come back to the B site, and guess what's going to happen, right? We don't have any smokes because we used the smokes before for that first hit that we refused to do, and now our smoker is dead. And so Ban's just going to put in a nanos one, but, you know, this isn't really going to do a lot, to be honest. And Jonah P, he's going to win the first fight, and he's going to manage to win the second fight as well. And just like that, we've lost the round, right? Because Tex comes up behind, and the guard win a round that they had no right to win whatsoever. And I really just do not understand what T1 were doing because, as I said, they had so much utility to deal with 1 player, right? I know the Brim was like here or something and he was smoked off and whatnot. Like, you're in a 4v1 with a ton of utility left. What are you so scared of, right? This should just, what are we so scared of, right? And because they take this risk and coming all the way back around and not knowing what's going on behind them now, they ultimately lose the round because of that. Now let's come to round number 7. And I want you to take a look at what's on your screen right now because we've got a Killjoy with a lockdown in hand. Keep that in mind, that it was clearly Net's plan here to play with this lockdown and use this as part of like the pre-round plan, right? This is my plan. If they come to my site, I'm going to use this lockdown just here, right? That's clearly Net's plan. But, and I've talked about this, you know, quite a lot this week already, but pre-round plans when it comes to ultimates in Pro Valorant is nowhere near where it should be, right? Because what we're going to see here is we're going to get this. So first off, right, this is our Killjoy's plan. So I don't really know what's going on here between Net and Jonah P. These two have played together for a very long time at this point. But if our Killjoy's plan is just to sit in here and off the turret contact go for a lockdown, why are we putting this smoke down here, right? Like, why are you trying to hold this on your own if our Killjoy's plan is to let them in and then use a lockdown, right? Like, why are we doing opposite things? Why are you holding this on your own, right? Like, why aren't you talking to each other? Why isn't either Net up here or why aren't you back here with Net, you know, playing to the plan, right? We just basically waste a smoke because you can't hold this on your own as this Brim. You get suppressed, you run away, you know, just like that. We're done, right? And so they do start to come in. They send in a KO nade behind this box. They send in the smokes just there. And that's Net's Q. Oh, they smoke this off, right? They send a KO nade just in here. That's my Q, right? In comes the Killjoy lockdown just there. However, Net's pre-round plan doesn't make any sense. Because Munchkin is one off his ult, right? So he's just going to pick up that ult orb. And he's going to just ult the Killjoy lockdown. Right, and again, it's this awareness of understanding. And then, let's just quickly talk about this. Jonah P just decides to walk into the ult for a couple seconds. I have no idea why. He loses half himself. Don't know why he did that. A bit weird. You know, just wasn't paying attention or whatever. Killjoy lockdown gets destroyed, and now we got a Killjoy lockdown on the site as well. Right, so instead of being like, you know, I'm going to wait for their Killjoy lockdown to then send mine in, right? And then maybe the Brim is already coming onto site, doesn't have time to get that ult orb or whatever, right? His plan just made no sense, right? I'm going to do a lockdown, but we're going to give up this space or this space, right? We're going to give them the ult orb and the Brim's one off ult. I don't know if it's just, not used to playing with Brim versus Killjoy, because that is two agents that didn't often come up against each other, throughout the past year, to be honest. But, you've got to get used to that now. You've got to understand that a Brimmel is going to destroy your lockdown, and then also they have a lockdown as well. So what was your initial plan of kind of like stopping them coming in with a lockdown is the opposite has happened, where, now you're getting pushed out by their lockdown. So just a bad pre-round plan from Net there, and, just bad communication between Jonah and Net as to what, the plan was. And then eventually what's going to happen here is this smoke is going to fade, and Zeta manages to get 2 kills. Carbon manages to get one as well. Tex gets one back with a nade. We end up in a 4v2. Here's the thing, right? And here's another big thing, because this is something that happens all the time in pro games. And at this point in Valorant's career, I would probably have hoped that this wouldn't happen anymore. But we've all been in this situation, right? Zeta's just sprayed down 2 people, and he's feeling himself. And the adrenaline is pumping, and he's going forward, right? But the thing is, this Killjoy lockdown still has a couple seconds left. He has time to calm down and reevaluate his choice and realize that the choice he's about to make is a really bad one, right? Because he's just going to go swamping off on his own, right? Look at where his teammates are. He's going to go swamping off on his own through this smoke, send a little right-click flash there, and he's going to stand just here, right? Killjoy lockdown just goes down. He still has time to get back if he needs to, but he's not going to. He's going to stay here, right? Why is this a terrible decision? Well, he's in a 4v2, and he knows that they can't be that close to him, right? We've got a Killjoy turret watching this way, so we're feeling pretty good that they aren't coming that way. Our Brim is over here, could probably hear them if they were coming from the top side of the map, so that, they're probably in there. Right, we're in a 4v2. We're feeling good about where we are in this round. We're feeling really good about where we are in this round right now. But if Zeta dies here on 76 HP, all of a sudden we're in a 3v2. The spike's not quite down yet. Losable. Right, all of a sudden it becomes quite losable if Zeta dies here. If he just plays back with his team and just lives, these 2 players are going to have to do something extraordinary, right? And so even though he's going to win this fight, he is going to win this fight, right? Even though he wins that fight against Net and he's playing an off angle, you might be like, oh, but this was a favored fight for him to take. I don't care, because a 4v2 is very favored, and they were, always likely to win this round. But this happens a lot in pro games where, how do you lose a 4v2? It pretty much always starts with someone making the decision that Zeta just did, where you go off on your own and you die, and all of a sudden a +2-man situation becomes a +1, and then all of a sudden a round becomes quite losable. Right? All of a sudden, your opponents don't need to do anything like super special to win a round. They just need to play decently, and maybe your teammates make, small mistakes, and you can lose a 3v2 pretty easily. So this, to me, even though you get the kill, right, it's not about the results, it's about the process, because the process is what's going to give you long-term results, and this is just a massive mistake. And so even though he gets the kill, I'm not a fan of it, and, if I was, his coach here and I'm VOD reviewing this, I'm slating him. Right, I'm slating him for that decision, because you're potentially just giving them away back into the round, right? In a 4v2, you've got the site, they're not likely to win the round. I mean, in theory, they probably should just save. But right there, by making that decision, you gave them a way back in, basically, by just doing what you did. And now he's going to hunt for the kill, and this one I don't mind, right? Because this is the thing. It's not that being aggressive is always bad. No, not at all, right? Being aggressive sometimes is good, and you're going to see he's hunting Jonah here to get the rifle out of his hands, and this is a good logical decision that's going to increase your win rate of the entire map. The problem is that first decision that he made to continue to go forward, even though he had more than enough time to come back at any point, was a terrible decision. And so even though he ends up with a 4K and everyone will go, wow, what a great round by Zeta, really it wasn't a good round, because he potentially gave the guard a way back in. And finally, let's come to round number 10. And this one, honestly, is probably one that if you watch the game, you'll remember this round for being quite ugly and weird. But I don't even think this is one of the worst ones. But I thought I'd include it anyway, because it is quite funny. So anyway, we get the guard. They're going for this push towards this just there. And T1, they come in to this A site. They get pretty deep early on. And, at this point in the round, nothing crazy is going on too much. And what's about to happen is Trent is about to go, like, crazy mind mode and just realize that someone might be there and he gets the kill on Sai. Maybe that's because he's played with Sai so much, he knows where he's going to stand. I don't know. But it was well played by Trent there. And now, they come back into pretty defensive positions. Nothing wrong with what they're doing at this point in the guard. We got the Killjoy here, trying to sneak up, which makes sense as well. And Ban's going to get pretty far, but Valen, is aware, he's watching it, and he manages to get the kill. Okay, 3v5. We're feeling pretty good about where the guard are again in this round. But we're going to get a bit of an ult fest. So the smokes come in just there. And now we're going to see what goes on. So we're going to first start off with this Viper's Pit, right? And look, this Viper's Pit, you're probably thinking, what on earth is this, right? And I've seen these Viper's Pits happen, quite often, to be honest, right? The idea is that it's going to get you out of this choke point. Right, it's going to create a smoke for you to get out of this choke point. The problem is for them, again, is they don't have a flash to then get out of this smoke, which isn't ideal. But, I understand what Valorant is trying to do here. It probably doesn't, bloom as far into the site as maybe he hoped it would. I'm probably sure he hoped that, maybe it would end up like that or something. But as we can see, it cuts off pretty short. It actually covers a lot of what's back here as well. So, it ends up not being a great ult. And, you do think about a Viper's Pit, like, would you be better off just at the start of the round, just locking down A main or something, or arcade? Yeah, probably. But, whatever, right? It's not a great use of a Viper's Pit, but it's not the end of the world either, because honestly, worse things are about to happen. Well, Munchkin gets that first kill on Tex, being a bit aggressive there, and they do run away, and they're going to get the spike down, okay? So they get the spike down, spike gets planted just now, and now we're going to get a fade ult coming in onto site from Trent just there, and we're going to get a breach ult in response just there, coming back from T1, and now, for whatever reason, we get a Brim ult as well on the site, long after the spike has been planted. It's not like this Killjoy is here and is about to swing this corner. It's not like we've got people here and they're about to come out of the smoke. I don't know what this Brim ult really is for, and it really doesn't do anything. So yeah, don't really know what's going on just there, but we're still not done yet. Don't worry, there's more to this round, right? Because as we get into this position just here, and the guard do start to come out, what we're going to get in just a second, I'm just going to try and pause it at the right moment, is we're going to get this just here, this flash. So this flash just above my head, just here. You might have remembered what I've said about this game, and that the guard don't have any agents that flash. This is a T1 flash. But you wouldn't have thought it, because it blinds both T1 players who are on the site, right? Zeta, we've got his POV here. He gets blinded by it. And also his teammate. Up here, sitting up here, Munchkin, he's going to get blinded by it as well. And it does actually blind Valen. But again, the idea behind this flash is very odd, because you're going to be thinking that they're in the Viper's Pit, probably. And so a flash, like, up where it is like, either they're going to be facing this way and they're not going to be fully flashed by it, or they're going to be in the pit and not get flashed by it at all. So, I don't understand what that flash is at all. It's basically a flash for the guard. But Valen did get blinded by it, I guess. Then we're going to get this fight, though. It gets better. We get this fight, which is obviously pretty ugly. We end up in a 3v2. Trent tries to, bring some normalcy back into the round, but then Jonah P just straight sprinting gets a kill. I mean, you could convince me this round was a bronze lobby. Like this round was pretty all over the place in terms of what was going on. Yeah, the guard ended up winning it. And yeah, it was a weird round. It was a funny round. But yeah, the guard won. And look, these two teams, they're not bad teams. They're not bad players. But, sometimes you just have bad maps. And both teams decided that this was going to be a map where they played a bad map. A lot of weird decisions, a lot of bad decisions. I hope you learned something from it, or at least had fun watching it, because it just goes to show that even the very best players in the world still make some very questionable choices and, yeah, make even monumental mistakes sometimes. So yeah, there it is. And well, let's hope that Valorant will not stay at this level for the entire year.